is the BirdDog X1 PTZ actually good for? Who should walk away? And does it make sense to spend the price if you're just looking for an everyday streaming camera? Those are the 3 questions that keep popping up in the comment sections of every live stream gear forum, and it's the exact place I started digging before I hit record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've been watching a lot of creators wrestle with the balance between zoom power, ease of control, and the dreaded it won't focus when I need it to moment, so I wanted to see whether the X1's 30 optical zoom and AI autoframing actually solve those problems or just add another layer of complexity. First off, let's paint the typical scenario where a PTZ camera like this lives. Imagine you run a modest-sized church, a community theater, or a small production studio that streams weekly talks, rehearsals, or webinars. You need a camera that can sit in a corner, swing across the stage, zoom in on a speaker's face, then pull back for a wide shot of the audience all without a camera operator on the floor. The BirdDog X1 is built for that exact use case. Its 1080p 60 output gives you smooth motion for live streaming platforms, and the 30 optical zoom means you can get a clear close-up of someone 3 rows back without losing detail. The AI autoframing is the kind of feature that makes a non-technical host feel a little safer. The camera detects a person in the frame and keeps them centered as they move, which saves you from constantly fiddling with the joystick during a live event. Now, does it actually work in the real world? I set up the X1 in a rehearsal hall that had a mixture of bright stage lights and dim backstage corners. The autofocus, which many PTZ cameras get wrong, was surprisingly confident. When I walked from the far left of the room into the center of the frame, the camera locked on within a second, and the AI framing kept me centered even as I shifted to the right. In low-light portions of the room, think a dimly lit interview corner, the image stayed usable, but you could start to see a bit of noise at the extremes of the 30 zoom. It's not a cinema-grade sensor, so if you need pristine low-light performance you'll notice the grain. For most live stream scenarios, though, the image is clean enough that viewers don't get distracted. One of the biggest practical strengths is the integrated 2.93-inch INC display. Unlike a typical LCD that drains power, the INC stays visible even when the camera is idle, showing you the current IP address, zoom level, and whether AI framing is on. That little screen means you can verify settings without pulling up a phone or a laptop, which is a huge time saver when you're in a hurry to go live. The Wi-Fi 5 connectivity and NDI-HX3 support give you 2 solid ways to bring the video into your streaming software. I tested both. Wi-Fi handled a 1080p 60 stream with no dropped frames in a relatively crowded office environment, while the NDI output gave me a virtually latency-free feed when I plugged it directly into a dedicated production PC. If you already have an NDI workflow, you'll appreciate that the X1 slots right in without any extra converters. Battery confidence is a different story. The X1 doesn't have an internal battery, it's meant to stay plugged in. For a fixed installation like a church or a studio that can run power cords to the camera, that's fine. If you were hoping to take the X1 on a field shoot or a pop-up event where power is scarce, you'll need to budget for a reliable external power source or a PO injector. That's a clear skip signal for anyone whose primary use case is on-the-go videography. Menu friction is another area where the X1 either wins or loses you. BirdDog's menu system is built around a few dedicated buttons and the INC screen, so you don't have to scroll through endless submenus on a touchscreen. The learning curve is shallow enough that a tech-savvy volunteer can set it up in under 10 minutes. However, the depth of control like precise color matrix adjustments or Kelvin temperature tweaks requires you to dive into the web UI or the companion app. If you're a beginner who just wants point and shoot, those extra settings can feel like a hidden maze, but for a hobbyist who likes to fine-tune white balance for different lighting setups, the granularity is a welcome addition. Let's talk about who should actually buy this. If you are a small to medium production creator who needs a hands-free camera that can swing across a stage, zoom in on a speaker, and keep that speaker framed without a dedicated operator, the X1 is a solid match. Its 30 zoom replaces the need for a separate telephoto lens on a traditional cam, and the AI framing reduces the risk of losing a subject during a live stream. For churches, schools, and community centers that already have a wired power source, the price point